territory where Carlos Bulosan once lived to tell the story of the rain, sweat, glory of Mike Jackson men who fight the destination we were destined to end. Left a writing on the wall in the halls of the Nippon Khan. Others transformed, majority Decepticons, but my conception of the...
Here we are, Wait for It Seattle podcast, C-Town Sports. It's Brian and Kevin coming to you live from my parents' basement, baby.
I see if you're watching on video, you got a little Seattle Sonics poster, a little Larry Bernandez bobblehead.
Yep.
Great.
We got all kinds of stuff. If I could switch the direction of this desk, you would have a really good background of bobbleheads. So maybe that'll be a goal for summer sometime. I'm sure I'll be here podcasting sometime in the summer.
Episode 46. Usually you come in hot with like a number of someone that's 46, but like we're getting pretty deep. Where
46 is a tough one. Like I don't have anything. Do you?
I don't think
46?
No. I don't think we're gonna have anything until we get to like the 70s and 80s, and those will be football players and stuff. So
I think 48 might be Carlos Silva, who's one of the worst pitchers in Mariners history. So that'll be fun.
You do remember him. So
oh yeah. I do. 46 is Bob Wells, maybe a Mariners pitcher from the 90s. How about that?
Bob Wells. I mean, that's before my time. Yeah.
It's before your time.
Before my time.
Yeah. I'm gonna look it up as we start here. Go ahead. You're like, where do I go?
Where do I go? I'm wearing a Drought is Over t-shirt because the Mariners have been on fire.
Yeah, today was sad.
They lost.
They were good. They were good. Bob Wells from Yakima, Washington, by the way, Kev.
Oh, people, when we mention random names, they like go ahead and Wikipedia them or Google them after who is the random guy that I brought up? I brought up some like random Hall of Famer.
Well, he can't be that random if he's a Hall of Famer.
No, but it was from like the 1950s. It was like an NBA player. So random, I can't even remember. But people like text me after. They're like, "Yeah, I looked up that guy. Like, I wanted to see his stats." I know he was a baseball player.
Okay, Bob Wells definitely has a 4 at the front. Here's the problem with Bob Wells. When you look at all these pictures, the Mariners didn't used to have numbers on the front of their jerseys at all.
Yeah.
They still might not, actually. So there's no pictures of him with a number.
You gotta be like that guy on TikTok that finds the guy that when there's movies and there's like sports on in the background and he finds the exact game and the exact teams that are
awesome.
playing. Yeah.
I don't follow that guy. That's great.
Oh, it's great. He goes through TV shows, movies, and he always finds the game. It's amazing.
AI is wrong on this one, by the way, because they say we're number 17, and I just told you I found him wearing a number 40 something. Oh, this is really going to bother me. This is a hard way to start. We're going to move on. Somebody tell
Figure
us
it out.
what number Bob Wells wore. It's the Bob Wells episode regardless. That's what it is.
Oh, it's so sad.
It is kind of sad. I mean, he's in an era of my sports fandom of just like, I can tell you the randomest people, right? Like Sadale 3, Dana Barros on the Sonics. Like they were part of my childhood. Seahawks, not as much. I wasn't as big of a football fan. It was basketball, baseball growing up. What were you? Were you just Huskies all the time?
Growing up. Sorry, I looked on his baseball reference page. He's number 46, but you can't.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, you can't find the image, so it's totally true.
My reaction was way over the top there, but I feel really good about the fact that
he also
went number 46.
Went to Eisenhower and then Spokane Falls Community College. So
let's go, Bob. It's the Bob Wells episode, baby. We're starting off strong. Let's just skip what you liked as a kid. Let's just move into it. All right. Here's what I want to do with the Mariners. I'm going to throw some random stuff at you.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to see if you can guess it. And it'll be a talking point for us on kind of how the Mariners are doing, right? So just to set context for this, last week we talked and we said they're going on this road trip. And I did headlines, right? What would the headline be? And you had said they'll go 4-5 on this road trip. I said 6-3. Right now, they're 4-3. So if they get swept by Boston, they make your prediction come true. They would have to win both to win all 3 series to make my prediction come true. They'll probably be in the middle, is my guess. But a winning road trip would be a positive for this team. They're 12-11 overall, right? Right in the mix. Nothing crazy. But there's some stories that are interesting here. The easy story is, wow, they still can't hit, right? But let's see what you can come up with here, Kev. I'm going to try and start with you with the easy one.
Yeah.
977. This was going into today, by the way.
Yeah. You're just saying 977.
Yeah,
Like I
well, I'll
have to
give you
figure
like,
it out.
well, so it's a stat, right? It's not a
Yeah.
rank. It's not, but it's a Mariner stat that's relevant. 977.
Is that the amount of home runs on the team?
You think they
Like,
have 977 home runs right now? What do
no,
you
no.
think?
I was thinking like one guy has 9, another guy has
Oh,
7.
no. Sorry, it's one number. So it's like it will read as 0.977.
Oh, is that the team OPS?
Oh, I wish. No, that is Cal Raleigh's OPS.
Yeah. Oh,
The
that's
team's
Cal.
OPS is much lower.
Yeah.
Cal Raleigh, eighth in the AL in OPS. I don't know the last time. This would be something for us to look up. I don't know the last time we had 1,000 OPS person on our team.
Yeah.
It's probably Cano, maybe one of those years, but probably not.
I mean, he leads
You know?
he leads the majors in home runs. He's tied with Tyler Soderstrom.
Yeah, who hit
Um,
3 in the opening series against the Mariners.
I read somewhere like, okay, first there's the debate of whether he's the best catcher in the major leagues, but then there's a debate if he's just straight up the best player right now.
Oh wow.
Like if he's like an MVP candidate.
That's a no from me.
You don't
Even though
think he's an MVP candidate?
No.
If you throw in the defense as well.
His defense is not rating well this year, actually, which is interesting. On Fangraphs, he's got a negative WAR on defense,
Yeah.
which will play itself out. He's not throwing out as many runners. I don't know how much of that is the pitchers but people are running on him this year. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
He just hits tanks, right? Like, and he walks a decent amount. No, I don't think you can hit 220 when Aaron Judge is hitting 340 with
He's
7
hit,
runs.
to be fair, he's hitting 244,
Okay.
but it's not that much different. I get your point.
Yeah, Aaron
Like,
Judge is like, I saw a stat
he's
the other
hitting
day.
411.
Aaron Judge is having over the last 162 games, like the most historic season in all of baseball. I mean, it's over 2 years, right? But the span of that, like he's
I
incredible.
literally should just trade the rest of my hitters on my fantasy team and just go all out for pitching because I feel like me getting Judge in the first round, or not in the first round, but
Yeah,
for whatever price I got
whatever
him
price,
was a
yeah.
bargain.
It was totally was. He's amazing. He's amazing. So that's a long answer to no. I don't think
No,
Cal's
he's
an
not the
MVP
best
candidate.
Yeah.
I do think he's the best catcher in baseball, and Jeff Passan said that on 710 this morning.
Yeah.
The only argument would be Will Smith of the Dodgers, and Cal's better defensively than Will Smith. So it's
So
awesome.
do you buy that? So him and Julio are on parallel track. This is another storyline.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
saw another comparison of like the two of them side by side stat wise. They've played the same amount of seasons.
Right.
Cal Raleigh has more home runs, more RBIs. Um, and maybe he's better defensively. I'd have to look at the numbers,
Yeah.
but
Well, he's a
uh,
platinum glove winner, right? So
yeah.
he
He's-
is better defensively,
He's
right?
playing a lot. I mean, in those numbers, he has better numbers than Julio. And then the counter argument is, well, for Julio, he's like 4 years younger, right? And he does much more than Cal Raleigh in terms of he can run,
Steals.
steal. He can
He does
play
walk
the
more right now,
positions.
actually.
Yeah, and he just has like the it factor. So that's just an interesting thing because I do think Julio gets a lot of he is the superstar or he's on his way to becoming a superstar, but we might have a superstar already in Cal Raleigh.
Yeah. I want a Cal Raleigh jersey.
Yeah.
I think when his mom was interviewed and said, "Thank you, Seattle, for loving my son," I thought it was
Yeah.
the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Julio is so cool when he's going, but I'm really in a tough spot with Julio as a fan. I
Yeah.
just need, like, they throw up and in fastballs and they throw sliders away.
And he goes for it every time.
Yeah, and he's doing a better job taking pitches right now. Like, he's walking at a pretty good rate. And he's had some bad luck, but if you look at his like barrel percentage and things like that, like it's not better than it has been in other years.
Yeah.
So when is it? I don't know. Like, is Julio a superstar? Like, no. The answer is no. He's
Mhm.
not. Will he be? Maybe. And you keep going in the youth, but I think it's fair, and it's also fair to say it's his fourth full year, I think, in the majors.
Yep.
And Cal is more at his peak, I feel like, right? This is Cal at his best. And maybe the frustration is we know what Julio's best is, and he hasn't come back to it in a while.
Yep.
So it's just a bummer, you know? It's just, and it relates to some of the other parts of the lineup that I want to talk about. You know, this team is over 500, rolling out a first base platoon of Donovan Solano and Rowdy Tellez. And Rowdy had an amazing weekend in Toronto, sort of. I mean, he did. We'll say he did. But he also, the day he hit the Grand Slam, he had 4 strikeouts. And if they somehow don't get to the 12th inning and he doesn't have that opportunity, he has a horrible game, right? And
Yeah.
and today the bases loaded, went out, grounds into a double play. There's a reason he was on a minor league contract. You know, Donovan Solano's 38. We're rolling Miles Mastroboni and Ben Williamson at third base and Luke Raley in right field. And the lineup just is so sad sometimes when I look
Yeah.
at it. So part of me is like, this is awesome. I can't believe they're 12 and 11. And part of me is like, it's going to fall off. The wheels are going to fall off. But I'm going to stay positive. So I'm going to give you another number. What are the Mariners ranked 4th in all of baseball? What stat?
Home runs, right?
You're correct. Home runs and walks, which is really interesting and gives me a little bit more hope, even with that terrible lineup that I said,
Yeah.
because Randy Arozarena and J.P. Crawford are tied for 2nd in Major League Baseball in walks.
I love
And,
that about Crawford.
yes, and Crawford's starting to hit a little bit. You know, he's not amazing, but if he can he just doesn't pull the ball anymore. And I don't know, but with his defense, and if he walks, maybe he's a fine 9 hitter. Randy Arozarena walking as much as he is phenomenal because he's a free swinger. So I don't know what's happened, but it's cool.
Don't you
And
love like how
I love him.
exciting he is?
I
Like
love
his
him.
defense, like laying it out
I absolutely
for
love
that
him.
catch. Like
Yeah.
he's just an exciting dude to
I love him.
watch.
And I liked him in Tampa Bay, and I thought I would love him. And last year it was hard in the half year to like but I love him. I love him. He's awesome.
Yeah.
How about 2nd ranked
ERA.
stolen bases?
Oh, that's surprising.
Yeah, so Dan Wilson said they're going to run, and they're running. They're going for it. How about this? Dylan Moore, AL Player of the
Player
Week.
of the Week.
He's one of 3 players in all of baseball in the 5-5 club currently, which is 5 steals and 5 home runs. Jazz Chisholm, Trevor Story, and Dylan Moore.
Dylan Moore is turning himself into a trade chip, I think.
They're not trading him.
They don't, dude, his value though, like, I mean, if I'm his agent, I'm like, this dude won a Gold Glove, AL
Yep.
Player of the Week. He's the best utility player in baseball. He deserves to be a starter. If you're not going to treat him to be a starter, I want to trade for my.
Yeah, but they are trading him as a starter. He plays every day.
Yeah,
He-
but
he-
he's not a. Do you get what I'm saying? Like he wouldn't be starting if everyone was healthy. Is that not correct?
No, he probably would because, well, yeah, maybe not every day, but when he hits, he plays. And this has been
Yeah.
the case the last 3 years. He'll have months where he's amazing. Dylan Moore is going to have it. I mean, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. He's going to have a terrible May. He's going to just fall off. And that's part of the problem is Jorge Polanco and Dylan Moore are batting over 300 and carrying us, which we need. Maybe Julio balances that out. Maybe Luke Raley catches fire a little bit, but I don't expect Rowdy and Solano to do that. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Garver, I'm done. You know, Garver, thanks, dude. But like, turns out you're not good anymore. So it sucks.
But who's gonna catch Luis Castillo?
In his 4.44 ERA, I saw a stat today that Cal's better with Castillo. I mean, yeah, I can't help but go negative, Kev. Like
You try every time. They're above 500.
they have 3 pitchers with a over 4 ERA. That's concerning, you know?
Yeah.
All right. I think I'm almost done. I'm going to give you one more for fun.
Yeah.
because I do think this is part of why they have won close games. So it kind of gives you a clue. They have three players at 11.0 or higher in this,
11.0 or higher. 11.0.
or 11.00 if you want to be.
It can't be strikeout to walk ratio.
Ooh, really close. Strikeout per 9 innings.
Oh, okay.
So if you're over 10, right, for a starter, really, really good. Logan's at 13. Logan has been the real deal. He is got a WAR of 1 already this year. His ERA is under 3. He's second or third in the league in strikeouts. He's awesome.
Is
Even,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry. We
no,
can shelve this question for later, but is it like, does he never extend a long-term contract extension to a pitcher? Like, I'd have to
no, they
go
gave one
back
to
and look.
Castillo when they traded for him. That's
Yeah,
what part of the reason he's here. And his velocity's fading, and it's probably not
yeah.
going to play out great at the end. But I think they'll try to get Kirby and
Gilbert paid.
Gilbert paid,
Yeah.
or
Okay.
they'll choose one of them. No, probably Kirby. No, and try to lock up maybe Bryce Miller. I don't know. They'll get two of those four, I think, at some point. But we don't have to worry about it for years. That's what's great.
Yeah.
Um, so strikeout per 9. So it's Gilbert and then Munoz, which makes sense. 0 ERA. Munoz has been phenomenal. And then Gabe Spire. And Gabe Spire is a lefty out of the bullpen with a 0 ERA, has been great. And that was one of my hopes, is that he would bounce back. If they can get Matt Brash back, I think the bullpen can be okay. Gregory Santos got sent down, not great. Trent Thornton cannot be your eighth eighth inning guy, but Brash, Spire, Munoz, that's a nice back end. So
Yeah.
I'm back on the hope train with that.
Yeah. I
There you
mean,
go.
to zoom out, the Mariners are 7-3 in their last 10.
Yep.
They have exactly 0 run differential, 101 runs scored, 101 runs allowed.
Which
They've
seems
scored,
not great,
but they've
but
scored the most in the AL West. They've scored the most runs.
and don't they have the best run differential in the AL West, or is that not true
No,
anymore?
no, the Astros have a +9.
Oh, the Astros are plus now. Okay. There was a while in that Toronto series where it was the case. Yeah, the Mariners have, two more with the Red Sox. The problem is Garrett Crochet is pitching on Wednesday morning, and he's really, really good. So tomorrow's a big one to not get swept. But even if they get swept, Kev, they go home with your prediction, 4-5, and
That's
they'd be fine.
acceptable.
Yeah, they'd be
Yeah.
12 and 13 overall, going to face the Marlins at home. They'd be okay.
Yep.
It'd be disappointing, right? That's why you just got to get one of these next two, and then you have a winning road trip. It's good.
Yeah.
So I think we're positive about the Mariners overall.
Like
Um,
a pendulum, like
yeah,
negative.
yeah,
And you say you're negative, you're very self-aware, and then you're like, oh, not that bad.
yeah. 54%. Speaking of 54%, a lot of 54% winning percentage Dipoto comparisons to your Seattle Kraken. People are not happy about the change. They wanted change, but so for people who don't follow hockey every day, the Kraken fired their coach, Dan Bylsma, after one season. They promoted Ron Francis, the GM, to team president, a very Dipoto-esque move.
Yeah.
And then they named the assistant GM the GM. He was the GM in Buffalo, and I forgot his name already. I want to say Jason Bellotti, but I think that's the former Oregon football coach. Do you remember that name?
No. Oh, yeah.
Maybe
Mike
I'm making-
Bellotti.
Mike Bellotti. Who's Jason Bellotti? Maybe that's this guy.
Bellotti.
They say they're going to keep Jessica Campbell on the coaching staff, but that's kind of hard to figure out. So they're making all these moves, and they don't have a coach right now. And people think Ron Francis should not be the team president. Like, he's created these rosters that have not been good, and why is he getting promoted? What do you think?
Yeah, it's almost like the Scott Service thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think of NBA coaching changes, which are so ridiculous and reactionary. And that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with like the NBA comparison, where guys go to the NBA finals and then get canned the next year for no apparent reason. And I feel like a
It's
lot of the
wild.
time it's the GM just finding a scapegoat for underachieving. And it's just so crazy to me. Like, how could you make the finals next, like 1 year? I think it happened to I think this was the Raptors.
No, the NBA. Yeah, I want to go on this for a
Yeah.
second because I didn't really have it as a Seattle sports headline, but now that you brought
Yeah.
it up, like it's wild. So Michael Malone wins with the Nuggets 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They have a roster that's flawed, but they still have Jokic, so they got a shot to win it again. He gets fired with 5 games left in the regular season. The GM also gets fired. The Grizzlies, who are an 8 seed but 2 wins away from a 3 seed, fire their coach, who's liked. Total scapegoat move. The Suns have fired Budenholzer, who won with the Bucks, who also fired him a year after winning the title,
It's
right? And then
crazy.
hired Adrian Griffin because Giannis wanted them to, and then that didn't work. They fired him, got Doc Rivers, and they're a mess anyway. They trade
Yeah.
for Dame Lillard, they're a mess. Coaches have always been scapegoats, but this is like a new level of player empowerment to the point where there's no stability and it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. So,
And I don't think the Kraken fall in that, Disco Dan, great nickname. Francis said basically he didn't like their style of play and how they played.
yeah.
So if that's true, that's not going to change next year, right? And your rosters, even though and their new GM is Jason Botterill, I think is his name, Botterill.
Yeah.
And he was in Buffalo and he was terrible as a GM. I always think somebody should get another chance because you can learn so much the first time. So I'm not really worried about him being the GM, but Jason said they're going to add this summer. They're going to get free agents. They're going to go for it.
Yeah.
Cool, but like we don't have elite talent. So maybe getting rid of Bylsma is the right move because if he's playing in a way that doesn't work for that, that's fine. But Ron Francis is the person putting together this roster. I don't know. I'm like really in between because I don't think Ron Francis should become president, but I also think we blame GMs too much. How about
Sorry, when you said president, I was thinking you're going political, right? So I just
that? No, no.
although he'd
Be-
be great.
Yeah,
Uh,
because when they drafted Matty Beniers and they drafted Shane Wright to be stars, nobody was like bad pick.
yeah.
Nobody was like, how did you pass on XYZ? They're like, great draft pick. Those guys haven't become stars. Maybe that's player development, but maybe they're just not stars. And that sucks. But I don't know. I guess you could blame Ron Francis for that. But that's what we do. Like everybody wants to fire every GM
Yep.
when they don't make the playoffs. And I don't lean that way all the time.
By the way, sorry, I just when
Yeah,
you
you're
started
good.
naming the Kraken players, when Daniel was subbing in for you, I was coming off of one of the where I went to the Mariners and then I went to the
Right.
Kraken game, and at the Kraken game, I was just logging on my phone, the different jerseys I was seeing from people that were wearing Kraken jerseys, and I
Oh,
was like trying to take a tally. And I'm pulling that up right now because I
yeah, I
thought it
love
was
it.
interesting.
I gotta know.
I think it was Beniers had
Beniers
the
had to be
most.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then a lot of people had the generic, just like
Yeah. That's what I have.
no
No
back.
name. Yep.
Yeah, it's like the 12 fan
Yeah.
jersey. Can't go wrong with it.
Yep.
So, I
Did you
wanted
see
to
some
share that.
Tanevs?
I did see some Tanners.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people love him. I loved him.
yeah, yeah.
Um, by the way, Kev, I don't know how much you watched the Kraken playoffs a couple years ago. Playoff hockey's so great. I
I
just
can't.
watched end of games of this Oilers Kings game the other night where the Kings were up 4 goals. The Oilers come back. The Kings win at the end. The crowd's just bananas. I just don't think it's the same in other sports. It's crazy to say that, but playoff hockey is fantastic. I would really like it back. I don't know that whoever our new coach is going to make that happen with whatever free agents the Kraken get, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like too much. I don't know. I don't know if I like that they fired Dan Bilzma or not. I can't figure it out. I guess you're falling on the lines of like, we're firing people too soon.
Well, it's kind of like this. It's like who is it? It's like a chicken or the egg problem or whatever. Like,
Yeah. Right.
is the problem that you don't have an adequate roster?
Right.
Like, where do you start from? Because I understand like the Giannis thing. If you have Giannis, like you build around him, which means you also hire the coach that can coach him, right?
Right.
Or is it the other way around where you build a roster around an established style? It seems like they like obviously hired this guy knowing what his style was. And
Right.
then it
Well,
didn't
not
work
only
out.
that, he was the Coachella Firebirds coach and he'd gone,
Yeah, they had
to
enough
the playoffs.
data.
They had
Yeah.
all kinds of data. They know who he
Yeah.
is. So that's kind of
Yeah.
like,
So did you
this
just
is,
try it out and it failed? Like whose fault is it?
well, I think this is what happens, that I've heard from other people who have followed sports for a long time. Ron Francis becomes president and fires the coach to prolong his job, right? So he shifts jobs. He gets promoted, but he's getting moved away from making personnel decisions, it sounds like.
Yeah. Or
This is
from
an
taking
agreement.
from taking responsibility
Yeah,
for
yeah,
those decisions.
maybe. Related to that, DePoto is technically the president, and everyone forgets Justin Hollander is the GM for the Mariners. And Softy did a poll where he said who should be like on the hot seat more, Schneider from the Seahawks, DePoto, or Ron Francis. To me, it's clear it's Ron Francis. Like the Kraken are bottom 5
Yeah.
in the league, right? And they haven't gotten better from 2 years ago. And it was, of course, 54% Jerry DePoto. And he ran away with it because the other two split the rest of the vote, right?
But I also think like
And I think it's BS.
Mariners Twitter's insane. Like
Yeah.
you have to look at what have you done and what will you do for me. All right.
Right.
So if you look at DePoto, what have you done? You made it to the playoffs, which every
Right.
GM previous to you since 2001 has not been able to do, right?
Right.
And then you look in the future, he's clearly built a roster that's playoff worthy.
They have
Playoff-
9 prospects in the top 100.
Yeah.
After being the top rated farm system 4 or 5 years ago, completely rebuilt it, got there. By the way, have the number 3 pick in the draft this year.
Yeah.
Might get Jackson and Jackson Holiday's brother is projected. I mean, now with that said, DePoto doesn't help himself with the stuff he says. That's his problem.
Yeah. He has a
He doesn't
leadership
throw his
team.
bosses under the bus.
Yeah.
He doesn't say like, yeah, they gave me $1 million. Of course we have Donovan Solano and Rowdy Tellez. He doesn't say that because he wants to keep his job, which I get. But then he says things like, yeah, this lineup is like, he doesn't say this, but it's basically like better than we had last year. And we don't even have that many holes to fill. Like you could say something in between because you just piss people off with that.
Yeah, he should be using AI. So and then the Schneider thing is like the dude won a
No,
Super Bowl.
Schneider should have 0%. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't care if he continues to not draft an offensive lineman and blows it with the O line. No, Schneider, like, it's not close to the other two.
Yep. Yep.
So, okay, related to John Schneider, Kev, I wrote something.
Yes.
I don't know the last time. Well, it's basketball season. I used to write about the Huskies.
I was confused because I got an alert. I was like, I didn't write anything.
You know what? Sometimes there are some moments as a teacher where you have a lot of grading, and it's spring break.
Yep.
And I like the NFL draft a lot.
Mhm.
And it usually falls in a week where I'm teaching, and it doesn't this year. And I'm excited. My wife asked me, what are your wants and what are your needs for spring break? Like, do you need to like clean up the garage or something? What do you want? I'm like, I want to watch the first round of the NFL draft.
I'm sure that went over well.
I actually haven't told her yet, so maybe she'll hear it tomorrow on the podcast. 1 day away, 1 day warning. I wrote about 5 players the Seahawks could or are projected in different mock drafts to take. If you want to know who those 5 are, you got to read the Substack. How about that?
That was a nice.
What I'm going to do on this is talk about players I didn't write about. So open your email if you're a subscriber. It's real quick. I didn't write long. They got some videos you can go watch. For example, Tyler Booker block. He's projected by a lot of people to go to the Seahawks at number 18. The players who I don't think are going to go there, get to the Seahawks or the Seahawks wouldn't take, but I'd be excited about. That's this segment. Are you ready?
Yeah, but can I just give a quick plug?
Of
If you
course.
don't like reading and you have the Substack app, you can have an AI voice read Brian's
Oh God.
article to you. So, so I'm just throwing it out there. I thought it was a cool feature.
I don't even know
Query
what to say
whether
with
I
that.
like the voice. Like you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
change the voice too. So
How about this? If you pay me $20 a month, I'll read all of our content to you. That's for any subscriber. Just let us know.
uh God.
Okay.
Tell me, but who are you
Kev, I
excited
was
about that
told
will
this week by a member of my family who just started listening to the podcast that I have a great voice for podcasting.
that's crazy because two of my family members say they fall asleep to our podcast, which is either a compliment that they listen to it on a weekly basis or like a horrible backhanded insult that we make them fall asleep.
They're listening at night? What are you doing? This is the first thing in the morning type of thing. Okay. Here's the first person, Will Johnson, cornerback, Michigan.
Ah, yeah, I remember this dude.
Remember we previewed the Michigan game and
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
in the game, I mean, he's so good.
yeah,
Will Johnson's my number one. And he's not going to fall. Like everyone's got him pretty high, but you'll find a mock draft out there that he goes actually behind the Seahawks pick sometimes. If they got him to pair with Witherspoon and then have Reek as your third, are you joking me?
yeah.
I would lose my mind. Will Johnson, Michigan. Unbelievable. Okay, that's my number one. My number two, that's also not going to fall to the Seahawks because he might even go in the top 10. But you'll find some mocks that have him behind the Seahawks. Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State.
Oh
I
my
know you know
God.
him. I
Yes.
know you know him.
Oh, he destroyed the Huskies.
Rushing touchdown or maybe two against the Huskies, right? In that game.
Oh God.
He's so good. And tight ends are not sexy, but Tyler Warren might. I mean, I start thinking about Sam Darnold loves tight ends, or at least that's my perception of watching him.
Yeah.
And you've got JSN and Cup. Like sometimes I forget we have Cooper Cup.
Yeah.
And then you throw Tyler Warren in and then you got your other tight ends, just, Fant and those guys run another route. Oh man,
I'm just saying this off the cuff, and I don't know if it's actually true that he's a good blocker, but I'm almost I almost want to say like, man, he could help our offensive line. Like he's a
yeah,
big dude.
I mean, you're right. I didn't research these guys. I looked at the PFF scores for the guys I wrote about.
Yeah.
Well, the second guy is also a tight end, Colson Loveland from Michigan. I also love him. He's so
Yeah.
good. And I don't think the Seahawks should take a tight end at number 18, probably. But if it comes up and those guys are available, like Loveland's still there,
Yeah.
part of me is going to be rooting for them to pick him. That's kind of my premise here, right? Yeah, they should take Gray Zabel, this offensive lineman from North Dakota State who seems good. But what if they took Loveland from Michigan? That's kind of like what would be going through my head. So those are
What's
three.
crazy is like you named two Michigan dudes and they just had a bad season.
Dude, I got another one for you.
It's not
Kenneth
Michigan.
Grant, the defensive tackle from Michigan. I think I must have done the preview for the Michigan game when we were splitting them up.
He's
Or
the DP,
whatever. Did
yeah.
you do reviews and I did previews? Whatever it was that we
Yeah.
did. Dude, Kenneth Grant. I just think about him inside with Murphy and Reed and I mean, Leonard Williams. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
In the same breath of you need offensive linemen, like what if you just had what the Eagles do and you have an amazing defensive line?
Yeah.
And Kenneth Grant also might go before, but some people have him projected after. So that's a name that I would have a hard time passing up. I have two more. They'll be quick. Wait, I gotta find it. No, I have one more for you. Safety from South Carolina. I don't know as much about him, but I've kind of like deep dove. Nick Imanwari,
Yeah.
South Carolina safety. He's been like Mel Kiper's number 2 safety. I don't know. What do you think about the Seahawks taking a safety?
I kind of like it because it would be like double down. Anybody on defense, it would be doubling down on a strength.
Yeah.
right? Like you kind of just reload and you make sure that that doesn't become a weakness. And I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah.
Um,
He's fast. I just, yeah, safety, just safeties. Maybe it's because of the Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas era, right? I'm like living in the past, but just having good safeties,
yeah.
same thing as having a good defensive line just gets me excited. So,
I was talking to my cousin who this weekend who's very much into the Seahawks,
yep.
and he are you so into this that you do mock drafts? Like if as if you're the Seahawks and you see
Like
like
just on my own, like for fun.
yeah, yeah.
My buddy Ravi, one of my best friends, he and I used to each do a mock draft. This is like post college, early
Yeah.
20s. So we do the whole thing. We go 1 through 32. We'd
First
watch,
round,
I'd
yeah.
usually go down to Portland and spend the day watching with him because it would always be on a Saturday back in the day.
Yeah.
And we would track how many we got right. And for
I would
sure.
love that. If we did
Oh,
like
we could just do a live mock.
we could do or
People
we could
love
do
mock
we
drafts.
could do like the first 10 picks or something, like the lottery. We could do the
Oh
first
no, we got to
14.
do the whole thing. We got to go all in. In fact, Kev, tomorrow night we could just do a mock and put it up. People would watch it. No, I know you're not going to do that. NFL is so hard too, and the trades make it hard, right? NBA
Yeah.
actually might be easier to do. It would be fun. That would be fun.
Yeah.
We should do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Maybe we'll have it
Speaking
as a
of
special episode.
speaking of basketball drafts,
Yeah.
perfect transition. What'd you think about the Seattle Storm picking who we talked about last week?
Yep.
Dominique Malonga, the female Wemby,
Yep.
or Wemby's the male Dominique Malonga. By the way, did you see the one tweet by one of the players that said, "Please don't let me be the first player to be dunked on"? And then
So good.
they it was a retweet of her highlight tape.
Yeah. Rickea Jackson, who was a rookie last year for the Sparks, said it. And then Sydney Colson, who is known hilarious WNBA member, retweeted, "I really hope it's you, Rickea," which is great. Malanga dunks with two hands. Like she doesn't do the like barely dunk. She can dunk with two hands.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, she's very intriguing. I have a hard time believing she'll be good this year.
Can I just go in a total like I see a squirrel and I like want to go left field? Can I interrupt you?
Of
Because
course.
Dominique Malonga's highlight tape was not the best highlight tape I saw this weekend.
Oh,
You know whose highlight tape that I saw this weekend that I thought blew my mind?
oh boy. I know where you're going with this.
Felix Elsner had
Oh
the
boy.
best,
This is really a tangent here.
yes, the best highlight tape. Caroline, unprompted, comes up to me and she said, "I can't believe what I just saw." And I told her, "Did you see the Felix Elsner highlight tape?"
Context there. I am, let me just set the record. I am against fifth graders having mixtapes. Okay. We did not pay for a mixtape. We did not pay anyone to film our son at an AU tournament. He had the best game he's had in AU. He just went off in this game. He had 21
3-pointers,
21
floaters.
he had 21 points in the game. Which, there's kids who score 30 regularly. It was awesome. He had a great game and I think he hit 5 threes in the game. And he was feeling himself and started doing some dribble moves. And there happened to be this young man. I have no idea if he's in high school, college. I don't know this guy. I did see someone filming during the game, but I didn't even think anything of it. And then Kalu Strickland, former Seattle Prep player who's a coach at Seattle Select where Felix plays, I wake up to a text with this link to this Instagram reel that I think is just a Seattle Select one, and it's all Felix doing moves. So of course, as a proud dad, I put it on my Instagram. Like I'm not gonna ignore it. But Dana and I very quickly were like, you don't play to be on a mixtape. Like you play hard, you play solid. He's like, yeah, got it. They ended up doing like 6 mixtapes for the kids, all the kids on this team, or like 6 fifth graders who played in that tournament.
It's
So
like Christmas morning for
everybody got one, but his went out first, and for whatever reason, Kev, 10,000 people have watched it.
I mean, I watched it 3 times.
It's wild. It's a wild thing. But Dominic Malung is just much better than Felix.
Felix is gonna listen to this, and he's
There's no way I'm going to let him listen to this podcast episode, by the way.
oh, it's too good.
In
Too good.
I will say, for those who have seen it, which will be some people listening, not many, and please don't go look it up, because you won't be able to find it. He got a perm, his second perm, right before this.
I was also wondering about that.
Yeah, a low taper fade into the perm, right? So it's really the Brandon Pajemski, the Warriors. It's kind of his look, and Felix and his coach during the game, as he was hitting threes, were going, "It's perm power, baby! It's the perm." I'm like, please don't egg this up.
AAU basketball has gotten out of control.
AAU basketball is. We should talk about this some other time. There are some things I don't love. It's not as bad as I thought. Youth sports in general has you go to any of them, you're gonna find some people. But can we?
Had to be.
It's nice of you to bring it up. Felix will appreciate it when he listens to this in 10 years when I allow him to.
Yeah.
The Storm should have taken Malunga.
Yeah.
But some people think it's the biggest upside pick in the draft.
Yeah.
I was really excited. I told my family, I made them watch it with me. Third round comes around. I see who's available, and I say, I really hope they take Serena Sundell from Kansas State. And then they took her. I watched the tournament and saw Sundell. She's like a tall guard, skilled, the kind of player who can run pick and roll. I don't know. Maybe she'll just end up not playing, because I look at the depth chart and I'm like, she's going to be competing with 25-year-olds and 26-year-olds who are fighting for the WNBA life, right? So
yeah,
that's hard, right? Nika Mule was not going to play last year, but she's tall. That's the difference. Whereas like the other people they have on their roster in the depth chart at guard are, Lexi Brown and Zia Cook. Alicia Clark's going to play as a vet, but Brown and Cook, like Sundell, could get minutes from them.
Yeah.
I think Malunga will be in the rotation. I mean, seems crazy for her not to be. But part of me thinks, God, they're such a veteran team. They have this weird mix of they've got to kind of go for it now. And I just don't know how refined her game is. There's a lot of people who can look really good in a workout.
Yep.
I can tell stories, but I will not name names, of people who have gotten college looks because of their workout, and then they've gotten to the college and the coach has called us and said, "Oh, you were right about why they don't play more minutes for you, because they don't compete, they don't know how to play in traffic." I mean, Malunga, I told you this before, she's playing against, it looks like 14-year-olds in France. Like, I don't know. So I'm really excited to see. I think it's the right pick. I would give the Storm a solid B+ on this draft, because they didn't screw it up. And you got to take her. You have a chance for upside. You got to go for it. We talked about that last week. So what would you say? What grade would you give?
Did the team get better? Yes. So then I'm around the same, like B+.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you're going to see immediate returns with Malunga, since she seems just so raw.
Yeah.
And so young, and she's going to get thrown around. Like, there's people that are
grown women.
Yeah.
There's grown women down there. And when I watch her workout tape, it's really hard to analyze, but she was doing these shot fake sidestep threes, and her release is like, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And the game's so fast. I don't know. I'm really, really intrigued to see what she looks like.
I mean, it could be one of those things where she's so physically better, like has more physical tools than her competition, that the game slows down for her. Like you see for people like
Kevin she's
Durant.
So young though.
Yeah.
And here's the difference. Kevin Durant comes to the Sonics and they give Kevin Durant all the shots he wants.
Yep.
Like she's gonna have to fit in with Skylar Diggins-Smith and NECA and Ezzy Magabor, right? And Gabby Williams. So Malunga's going to get maybe 5 shots a game as the rookie. And finding spacing in a team that already has established vets is different than Caitlin Clark, I mean, we're in a different stratosphere, but Caitlin Clark, you're the point guard, go.
Yep.
Paige Becker's in Dallas, you're the point guard, go. We have other players and what you have to fit in, but you have the ball in your hands all the time. How's Malunga going to get the ball in her hands? Are they going to run ISOs for her? Are they going to run pick and roll for her? Are they going to post her up? Mid block Kevin Durant style, turnarounds? And like, when will that happen if you have Skylar Diggins Smith running pick and roll 50% of the time?
It's an interesting puzzle, right? Like, and it always
The
comes back
way
to the
the way your
Huskies.
face looked, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, where are we going with this?
It's an interesting puzzle. It's like, how do you incorporate someone that's
Yeah.
really talented and young without screwing up the present?
Right.
And it's the age old question that every high school basketball coach has to deal with, like a really good freshman that you don't want to totally kill their confidence or have them transfer,
Yeah.
right? But
No,
you
we'll
still
talk about
need
that.
to
Yeah.
have them contribute to the team, and
Yeah.
and you have to you want a lot of different things. Right?
Like Sundell can come off the bench if she plays, and she plays 7 minutes a game and provides like a backup guard and hits a three. If Malunga's playing 12 minutes a game, I mean, just with the hype, people are going to be disappointed. It's just going to be really interesting how people react and how the team incorporates her.
Yep,
So
for sure.
that's the story to watch for sure. And crazy enough, preseason games start in like a week and a half.
Dude, I'm pumped. We got
Yeah.
a little. Christine went for it, and she got a ticket package for the Valkyries. So
Oh, let's go.
we're gonna
Nice.
we got the package with the Storm and the Fever.
Oh,
So
that's
we're gonna
good.
see some good.
I love it. I was thinking about getting a 5-game pack with the Fever in it. Still might. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. One last subject before top 5 that I thought you would be interested in. I don't know if you clicked on the article or saw this.
I saw the main rule.
Yep. So this is relevant to people in Washington State, which I think is a lot of our listeners. The WIAA, the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, which runs all high school sports. And I used to be an athletic director, for context, and so I've worked with the WIAA and I've seen how amendments work and all this stuff. I never thought I would see this happen. I never thought Washington State would change the transfer wording in their constitution. And so in Washington, if you want to transfer high schools, you are ineligible to play athletic varsity sports the next year. That is the rule.
Without
the rule.
without an exception.
So the exceptions are if you move, if your whole family unit moves, permanent residence, there are lots of loopholes. There are ways, honestly, it rewards high income and low income, and the middle class gets screwed because who can move in the middle class for your kid, right? Like high income, we have a second home.
Yeah.
Low income, you change apartments, right? So it kind of it's skewed strangely on both ends for that rule. The second one is a hardship. If you have a hardship, which could be a lot of things, that happened at your school and you need to leave, and it's not athletic reasons for transferring, you could be eligible.
And there's someone from the WAA looks at that hardship, and
There's a group. Yep. There, you can be on eligibility committees and there's training for it. And, you don't usually review your own district. So like if we had a district 2, which is Kinko and Metro, kid who wanted to transfer into like where I was at Seattle Prep, they would go before a hearing, they'd present their case, and athletic directors would listen to it from other regions, which involve, you get into bias and there's all kinds of things, right? And people call it unfair. Some people think it's unfair that people get eligible within those rules, right? For moving, or hardships that they don't think are real hardships, even though they don't really know the story. So there's a lot of judging and different things going on. Other states have had different rules. And Washington just passed an amendment that says no longer are you ineligible. You can transfer one time in high school within a transfer window, which they have not defined yet when that is. And you sit out 40% of varsity contests the next year, and then you're eligible. So if you played 30 games, you'd sit out, 12 or something like that? I think it's based on the number of contests the team had played the year before. So if you go deep in the playoffs, it's more games, vice versa, which may not be fair, but we could talk about that at a different time. This is clearly matching a college formula, but California has something very similar. At least NorCal, I think it is, has a 40% rule or something like that. Um, I don't know. What do you think, Kev? Is this weird to you? Like you were in high school watching sports and covering it for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I think it's I think it acknowledges the reality that people do transfer for reasons that aren't that for athletic reasons,
Yeah.
right? And it acknowledges this thing like, well, I went to this high school because I wanted to play this sport.
Yep.
And you you can get into a situation where, oh, the coach that I wanted to play for, or the team that I wanted to play with, or it just didn't work out.
Right.
And I think it, there's like philosophical questions about transferring, right? Like, are you transferring because are you leaving something
Yeah.
because you weren't good enough, or are you going toward a much better opportunity? And
Right.
you can see it work both ways.
Right.
And I think the bad take on all of this is to kind of just take an extreme position, like all transferring's bad and all
Right.
transferring's good. Like I think it's just so dependent on the circumstances and individual athletes in their circumstance. And I think if you have to be comfortable. If you're comfortable with the fact that a 14-year-old went to a certain high school to play with for a certain coach or
Mm.
play a certain sport, then I think you're okay with this. If you're not comfortable with that, then it's going to bother you. It
Yeah,
doesn't bother me.
that's no, it's a good
It
summary.
doesn't
That makes
bother me at
sense.
all. Does it bother you?
No, I actually I never like came up with an amendment for this.
Yeah.
I tried a couple different things, different times in the Metro League that got rejected, but this was not one of them. Um,
I thought it was creative,
I think
honestly.
the 40%
Yeah.
thing is a happy medium.
But here's the
Here's the
rub
thing,
though.
you
You can
can
still get
yeah,
a hardship, right?
right.
So it's
Right.
like
So there's going to
if you
be a
want the
lot of
full season
kids,
of eligibility, then
there's going to be a lot of kids who still get it, right?
yeah.
Um, there are schools that have a lot of transfers every year, and how those kids are eligible, I don't know. I don't know the circumstances behind it. I know what people say and what they think. Um, maybe they'll be harder on hardships now because you can be. I mean, I
That
think
was
that,
my follow-up, but I don't
yeah, I think
think
it,
that
well,
shouldn't be the case though. That shouldn't be
well,
you get
here's my
harder
counter to
because it's
that.
easier.
No, here's my counter to that
Yeah.
because if you had a kid who had a compelling story,
Yeah.
but technically under your rules, like they probably shouldn't be. They didn't move. They don't like the coach, or the coach didn't play them a lot, or they felt like the coach was not what they thought it would be, or it was a different coach, like you said, right?
Yeah.
The WA says you can't transfer for athletic reasons. There's a whole philosophical argument about that, whether you're comfortable with that. The NCAA has decided, or I guess the courts decided for them, that's legit.
Anti-competitive, but
You could do it, right?
not well.
So maybe that's happening to high school. It's going to happen to high schools anyway. Like some kid's going to sue. But under Washington State, they would say, like, no, we're not doing this for athletic reasons. So that's not enough. So you would be ineligible. But, they're like, the coach really, I'm not talking about like bullying or something like that, but like they're really bad, or they don't care, or they don't do summer basketball. I'm thinking about basketball, right? Or they don't let us do weights, or they don't have open gyms. All the things to become a better player you need, and to run a program. Like I ran a program. Like you have to do all those things to be competitive.
Yep.
And so they want to transfer schools because that coach isn't going anywhere. You would be ineligible. So now instead of saying, well, they kind of have a hardship, we're going to give it to them, or we're not, and they sit out the entire year, which I've seen plenty of kids do also. They now have kind of an in between. But I don't know. I would rather it be like a hard, fast rule, all kids, 40%. That's how you stop transferring for athletic reasons, if that's what you care about.
Yeah. And I do
You
think
don't
it's
give the hardship anymore.
yeah.
You know, and what I don't know is if I think the residence rule is gone, so moving doesn't matter anymore, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because if you move from Spokane to Seattle, you have to sit out 40% now, I think.
I think the central question is what's the standard for hardship and how is it being enforced? And to me, that's never from what I can think about is that like you could you could maybe make a public records request, but maybe not because the
Yeah.
WIAA is a private org, but you
Right.
could make it of the public schools. But then they're just going to redact everything, right?
Yeah.
So you could get a bunch of records of all
Kev,
these hardship
I'm
requests.
not gonna talk about anybody in
Yeah,
particular or anything I've
yeah,
seen, but I will say this. It's a committee of people
yeah,
who decide on individual cases, right?
yeah,
They ask ADs to volunteer to be on the eligibility committee every year.
yeah,
I didn't do it. I probably would have if I kept being an AD. So you get trained. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the process. I'm not critiquing the WA on this.
yeah,
But you have 3 or 4 people on a committee deciding a case. You can appeal and keep going, right?
hmm
But this is all people subjectively mostly deciding, to
yeah,
your point. There's checklists of things and there's things they look for, but ultimately is a group of people who decides, which is like most things, right? I mean, it's Supreme Court is a group of people who decide and interpret law,
yeah,
right? So you're not going to find a rule for what a hardship is. It's going to vary depending
yep,
on who's reading it and their own biases, which is part of the problem. And the WA has done a good job of trying to address that, of saying, biases could be anything. It could be rural, urban. It can be race, gender. It can be political leanings. It could be sport, right? There can be all kinds of biases for why somebody gets a hardship, why somebody doesn't. And I've seen it in a variety of ways. So part of me just wants, we'll get rid of the subjectivity.
just make it uniform
You can transfer. You
for
sit out
whatever,
40%,
for
right?
any or
But
whatever reason.
but when I I'll just throw this out there. I tried something that involves something about making it more objective. And it didn't go well for me in a room of Metro athletic directors, let me tell you. I may have been called a racist that day. So,
Oh God,
yeah.
man.
It's okay. We won't go back
Yeah,
to that day. It
yeah,
was fine.
yeah.
I have good friends in that room, so it was okay. Um,
But that's kind of like the privilege, though, of like you throw out ideas, right?
yeah.
You have to do it to get to a point where something like this is kind of novel and different, and it gets passed, and hopefully it has good results. I think that's what we can all hope for.
I think it's fascinating, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge change for Washington State athletics. So,
Yep.
and you know, I'll tell you the first thing I thought of was like, yeah, if I have a kid and it's a really bad experience, like I like that it's not sitting out a whole year if it is. I don't expect that to happen, but
You have
that's
to
probably
kind
where
of like you have to balance it. Like
that's
you have
probably
to,
where a lot
yeah.
of families feel, right?
Yep.
Like that's good. So,
Yep.
um
Good stuff.
anyway, yeah, there you go. All right,
Top five?
top 5, baby. Do you
You
want
want
to
me to
go
go to
first?
you? I'll go to you. So Rowdy Tellez got me pumped up with that Grand Slam comeback victory, which was like a seesaw of a game. I don't know, I was like, well, who has the most Grand Slams in Mariners history? I always
Oh,
think of things that I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
okay.
So, top five most Grand Slams in Mariners history.
Number 1, Kyle Seager.
Kyle Seager's number nine.
What? I
He's
swear
only
to God,
had
he's number 1. That's
five
so
Grand
weird.
Slams.
I had that crystallized in my head as number 1. How
Strike
weird is
one.
that?
Strike one.
God, we haven't done the trivia version of this in a long time. Well, Edgar's got to be in the top 5.
Yeah, Edgar's tied for number two with three others with
Ooh,
nine.
9. Wow. Mike Blowers?
Mike Blowers, interestingly enough, had like that one. I think he had like back to
Can I pull
back.
that? Can I pull that one back? He's
I'll
not in the
let you
top 5,
pull it back.
obviously.
He's number eight. He's got one more than Seager. He's got six. I mean, you're in the top 10. Um,
I mean, I'll just say Griffey. It's stupid
yeah,
not to.
yeah, he
Okay.
has the most. He has 12.
Wow. I don't
Yeah.
remember that about him. Okay. Nelson Cruz? All right, I suck.
No.
I can tell on your face.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you want me to name
God,
them?
it's so disappointing.
Okay,
There's somebody on this list. Yeah, go ahead.
Griffey 12, Buhner 9,
Buhner.
Edgar 9, Alvin Davis
Mm.
9, and Richie Sexton 8.
What? How many did Seager have? 6?
Seager had 5. A-Rod had
Five.
7. Ibanez had 7.
What
JP
am I
Crawford.
thinking about with Kyle Seager? Like,
Yeah,
there's definitely a moment I have in my head where I'm like, yep, there's another Grand Slam. He's number one on the list.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
the Richie Sexton one is pretty amazing because
Richie Sexton's
he only
amazing.
played 509 games, and had 8 Grand Slams for the Mariners. But the guys above him are all above like 1,000. Like Griffey played
If
1,600, Buhner paid
Yeah,
1,400, Edgar paid 2,000, Alvin Davis played a
Richie
thousand,
Sexton.
over 1,000. Yeah, Rich Sexton only played 509 games for the Mariners and had 8 Grand Slams.
Kev, I think this is right. Do you know who has the most Grand Slams in Major League Baseball history?
I don't know who it is.
I think this is still correct. Lou Gehrig has 23, I believe. I'm gonna look it up. Oh, A-Rod passed him. A-Rod has the record 25.
Which is crazy because he only had, well, he's also impressive. He only had 790 games for the Mariners and had 7 Grand Slams.
Yeah.
So for
Richie Sexton, though, 8 and 500 games. That means one out of every 40 games you're going to see a Grand Slam by Richie Sexton.
I mean, he Beltre was in front of him in that lineup. Ichiro was in front of him.
It's an underrated lineup in Mariners history. And
Yeah.
people hated on Richie Sexton. Can you imagine if Richie Sexton was on this team right now? We'd be so happy.
I think people were so obsessed with
Give me
batting
Justin
average.
Smoke. God,
Yeah.
anybody.
Yep.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
Can I
go
tell you
ahead.
one more Grand Slam fact that's fascinating?
Yeah.
So Don Mattingly and Travis Hafner, formerly of the Cleveland Indians, have the single season record for Grand Slams in 1 year.
6?
6. That's a lot of Grand Slams in one season.
Yeah.
6 Grand Slams? That's insane.
Yeah.
You don't seem that impressed.
I mean,
Do you know the most wins in Major League history? There are some records I know. Career
But-
wins.
no idea.
Cy Young, 511.
I thought you were saying like this person won a Cy Young, but it's the
No,
actual Cy
The
Young.
actual Cy Young, 511. Think that'll ever be broken, Kev?
Absolutely not.
No, nobody's even going to get to 300. 511. He must have pitched every other day on those baseball fields you see in like the natural where there's no fence, and he's throwing 47 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Do you know he
Yeah.
also has the most losses in MLB history?
Cy Young or Nolan Ryan or Cy Young?
No, Cy Young has it.
Okay.
Let me tell you the number. I think it's 387. 316.
People are gonna
He
be
has
like looking at the record books and like, how did Barry Bonds hit 73 home
Yeah.
runs in one season?
I was just going to say, I think Barry Bonds is the best baseball player of all time. I don't care about the steroids.
Oh yeah, Daniel would agree with you completely, and so would everyone else in San Francisco.
Would they agree that 511 wins and 316 losses in a career is absolutely insane? Because that's what Cy Young. He has more losses than anyone's gonna have. Anyway, it's just different eras, and that's the thing about baseball. Like you can't compare the eras, right? Basketball, we talk about it all the time. People get pissed off. How do you compare Bill Russell to Shaq to Jokic? Like it's different things, but baseball really is wild.
Yeah. All right, final. What do you got?
All
for
right,
me?
top 5 for you. I want you to tell me everybody wants the Seahawks to draft an offensive lineman, despite what I said earlier. That's the hope, right? I don't know. Do you feel like that? Do you want him to take an offensive lineman?
I want them to take the best player on the board, honestly, at the time.
Okay. Well, if they don't take an offensive lineman, 50% of the Seahawks fan base is going to lose their mind. They're going to have an aneurysm because the offensive line is so bad. Who are the last 5 offensive linemen, doesn't matter, tackle, guard, center, drafted in the first round by the Seattle Seahawks? How many can you get?
Oh God, that's so hard. Charles Cross.
That's one. One of them, I should say.
God, who is the dude that they converted? There's a guy that they converted from, like, he was like a project by Tom Cable. He was definitely in the first round. I can't remember his name.
Well, you got to give me something.
Okay, so I already said Abe Lucas. Did I say Abe Lucas?
You did not say Abe Lucas.
Is he a first rounder?
No, that's a strike.
I'm not gonna get any of these. I need hints.
Yes, you can. Okay. All right. So you got Charles Cross. He's the last one.
Yeah.
You got to go back to 2016 for the for the one before
That is so hard. They've had so many offensive linemen since 2006. That's
Well,
impossible.
but they're first rounders, and if you love the NBA, NFL
I
draft, you would
don't.
know all. You would know all their first
You're
rounders.
killing me.
In fact, one of them I talked about in the intro to my article today that you didn't read.
I did read it or have
He's
the
on there.
AI read it to me.
Oh,
I
gross.
don't know who it is. I'm not gonna get it.
All right,
This is really good.
I'm gonna give you a hint. Not him, but somebody else here. One of the five is one of the best linemen in Seahawks history.
Is it Walter Jones?
No, way too far back. That's strike two. Russell Okung.
Oh yeah. I should have got that one.
Okay, the one I was trying to get you to get is Jermaine Ifedi.
Yeah, I would have not got that.
Isn't that the Tom Cable one you were thinking of, or no?
Maybe?
He was a guard tackle. They made him a tackle. He still plays in the NFL. Jermaine Ifedi last year was on the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, he still plays.
Jermaine Ifedi.
Don't you yawn during our podcast.
We had.
Okay.
I miss you, man. I miss that. Okay.
James Carpenter from Alabama,
Oh,
a guard,
God.
2011. Everyone was like, what? Why are they drafting James Carpenter? Wasn't good. And then before Okung was center Chris Spencer. He was the Robbie Tobeck replacement. Robbie Tobeck was on those early,
God, I
that
can't believe I
2005
dissed Walter
Super Bowl
Jones.
team.
I'm
Anyway,
sorry.
they've taken 5 offensive linemen, and that's since 05. So that's 20 years. Are they going to take one tomorrow night? Or 2 nights? Well, when people are listening to this, it'll be tomorrow night.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I don't think they're going to take a quarterback. I think you can take that to the bank. I don't think they're picking an O-lineman. There's been no buzz about them picking an O-lineman other than the fan base wanting them to pick an O-lineman.
Well, every media member like projects them to do it because they want it.
Yeah.
But my whole premise of what I
Just said is
Kinda
that it
said
doesn't
in the-
work out.
well, true. Although Charles Cross and Russell Okung, I mean, they're pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're
Okay.
tackles. They're left tackles. That's different,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Than a guard. The last guard they took that worked out was Steve Hutchinson. He was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was a long
He's
time
a
ago.
legend.
Yeah, I just think they're not going to do it because John Schneider doesn't like to do what people think he should do. He hates that. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. We've covered a lot today. We covered.
Yeah.
You don't like the NFL draft.
By the way, you should read the article though if you haven't, because
thanks.
it's a great article. So ctownsports.org or .com.
Great's probably a little much, but
Yeah.
you hate the draft. You love 5th grade mixtapes. You yawned at least once on the podcast.
At the very end.
At the very end, which is good. That was good. Oh, and we didn't even cover that you've kept your record intact. Do you know what record I'm speaking of?
Mentioning Christine.
Nice
Oh
job, Kev.
yeah.
You did it again.
Oh yeah. That's why
did it
we're
again.
recording on Tuesday.
Yeah, congrats, Kev. Way to keep the record intact.
If you're listening to this, thanks for listening, and we'll see you episode 47 next week.
Shout out to Bob Wells.
Yes, and shout out to the legendary mixtape, Felix.
Oh boy. Oh god.